Hardening off is the final stage of the seed starting process. This means that you are acclimatizing your indoor seedlings to outdoor conditions. When you have started your seedlings inside, they've been in a very climate controlled environment. Temperature is always the same, the lighting is usually the same, watering is typically done on a schedule or as need basis. They're not being impacted by any wind or anything else. So when they start to transition outside, they have quite a bit of adjustments that need to be made. The sun is much more intense than the indoor lighting will be, even if you do have grow lights, and plants are susceptible to being sunburned. The other elements, such as the wind, you may notice that your plants are a little bit weak and they need to build up a little bit of resistance still as well. All of this takes time, and if you jump into it too quickly, you can destroy all of the hard work over the last few weeks and months and kill all of your seedlings all at once. Sometimes you'll have really good luck, you'll never harden anything off and everything will make it, but more frequently than not, you do need to incorporate a hardening off process that needs to be eased into gradually. There are a few ways to go about doing this. I have done it in a few different ways. If you are living in an apartment building and your garden is, say, a community garden plot, you may not have the luxury of doing the inside-outside routine every single day, gradually building up. In that case, I would recommend getting a tarp or some sort of a covering, which you can move your plants out permanently once the temperatures are adequate for this type of plant, and just tarp them and visit them daily to gradually build them up that way. Temperatures will vary depending on your plant type. There is no one blanket statement for all plants. There are some plants that can handle much cooler temperatures, such as your broccoli, your cabbages, brassicas, peas. And then there are other ones that are much more heat loving, your tomatoes, your peppers, your eggplants, your bush beans. Plants that require more heat, you want to wait until the temperatures at night are at least 10 degrees Celsius. Cooler loving vegetables can handle a 10 degree during the day temperature for hardening out. So I'm only just starting my tomato seedlings outdoors to get them used to the environment now, because our nighttime temperatures are now somewhere around the 8 degree and upwards mark. And I'm still not going to be planting them out for another week or so. That way I still have control over needing to cover them up. And even in the garden bed, I will usually keep a tarp nearby just in case we have some freak weather, and this year seems to be the king of freak weather years. So the ways that I go about hardening them off this year is I have moved everything outside. I had my little DIY greenhouse, so everything is already pretty well adjusted to the flux of temperatures night to day and the adjustments of that. So it's one less thing to be dealing with. What I'm now doing is removing the tarp throughout the certain hours of the day. And I had originally picked this location as well because it is underneath our apple tree. So the light that it will get during the heat of the day and afternoon is a bit more dappled. So in the morning time, which is right now, we're getting a nice amount of sunshine. I'll give it maybe 1 to 4 hours of early morning sunshine because it's less direct, it's less intense, it hasn't had a chance to really build up, and it's coming in from quite an angle, so it's hitting everything a little bit lower. And then I will cover it up for the heat, the intense part of the day, so from like noon until 4 o'clock, and I may let it out again in the evening times when the temperatures are starting to cool down and the sun once again is lower in the sky. If it is also a really windy day, I may keep them a bit more bundled up until they're a bit more adapted, or if there's really heavy rains, they may also not be permitted to have their recess with fresh air. The other ways I have done it is I have brought them inside outside, and I like to start in a dappled shade area for just 1 to 2 hours of the day, gradually adding 1 to 2 hours each day, and then moving from dappled shade into earlier sun or later sun, then into full sun. I never just jump full sun straight out. I find that my vegetables will just fry up. The leaves get all crispy and sunburnt going into direct sunshine that way. So not only am I graduating the time slots, I'm also graduating the type of light that they're experiencing. And then once they have been outside for between 4 days to 10 days, they're normally robust enough to then be planted out into the ground. They've experienced a number of different weather environments, such as your wind, your rain, different sunshine and shade, and they're normally ready to go from there. The other option, if you do not have the luxury of bringing them inside, outside, inside, outside, is to pick a few days straight where it's going to be really overcast. There are different types of overcast. There's overcast where you can still get sunburnt, and your plants will also as well. Yesterday was a pretty good example of that. It was around 20 degrees Celsius. The sun was beating down, but it was still overcast, and it was still a bit too intense for the plants during the middle part of the day. But if you get a few really kind of dreary, rainy days, and you can put them outside for 3-4 days straight, you can do 12-hour days in that. Once again, even better if you can put them underneath a tree for some dappled shade, and you don't need to do the in and out with them as much. You can just leave them, and it's a little bit lower maintenance. And then in theory, you are ready to go, ready to plant them out in the garden and begin to finally free up some space inside of your home, and maybe even start a few more seedlings for later on in the season. I hope you found this insightful. If you want more Canadian gardening and kid-friendly activities, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we will see you in a future video.